University of California branding. I'm going to show you what they proposed and what happened. And there's a lot of ideas in this. And the one thing I don't want you to do, I do not want you to reuse any of these ideas. I want you to have fresh ideas, those of you who work on this branding. I want you to have fresh ideas of your own. Because this was an imbroglio. This was a serious event. The University of California, this is their heritage signature. This was designed by Tiffany and Company. It was designed at the end of the last century. This dates back to about 1895, okay? But the problem with it is that it doesn't translate well to digital media. It's very much like the signatures of other schools. So this is what the university designed from their own internal design department. This is what they came up with. They didn't ask anyone's opinion. They began to put it on collateral material and so on. And then they introduced it publicly. And when they introduced it publicly, over Facebook, an incredible protest occurred. And that is that in 1 week's time, 20,000 people signed a petition to kill this logo. Which I think is very interesting if you think about it. Because for 20,000 people to object is a huge phenomenon. See, the old logo was designed like this, and then a colorized version was done. But you look at how it breaks down in lower resolution, and you see that it doesn't really translate well to digital media. Their objection, the university design department objection, was that they couldn't use it on the internet, on the mobile devices. They couldn't use it for modern media because it's 19th century. So this is what they proposed. It was a mess. It was a tragedy because it was all these different colors and all these different things. And then they said, "Oh, here's how we'll apply it." This is applied. This is applied brand. You saw it in the Saul Bass reel. Ladies and gentlemen, come on, your attention. You saw it in the Saul Bass AT&T reel that I asked you to look at, 1969, and you saw how he, first of all, contextualized the rebranding, and then he showed many different applications of it for the real world. So this is where they began. They sent out a truck and an exhibit all over the campuses. Nobody said anything until they put it on Facebook, and on Facebook it caused a furor. And then here's some examples of what they were going to do with it. These stripes. You see that the original symbol has this thing, "Let there be light," and there's a book. They had all these different color bars, like on a mug. It was hideous. It was horrible. Okay? So suddenly people began to protest on the internet, on Facebook. This is comparing it to a 1960s product of chewing gum. See? Yipes, stripes. Then here's a study guide that you can get in the United States called Cliff Notes, and here's the stripes. And here's the California lottery. So people were saying, this is the university? The university is like chewing gum or study guides or the Loteria? And then they began to compare it to existing brands also. Look at Skype, the same coloration and the same symbol. So they said, we're like a mobile telephone, internet-born telephone. And then they said, even like this, the Costa Concordia, the same color scheme and the same letter C. So you see, people were protesting this rebranding. They did not feel that it was good for the university. So some people who considered themselves to be better designers took the new symbol and they began to modify it. This one says, oh, all I have to do is get my little digital effects with my Macintosh, a little shadow. I'll use this, I'll embolden the lines, I'll make it work better in the visual universe. Phew, forget it. This one says, oh no, this is what I need. This is something that's going to be, strong and graphical for the world. I hate that too. And then here's somebody who fancies themselves a designer. Look at this awful thing. Here they're using the logo from the new one, the book, the star, and very dispersed typography. And someone posts this or that. It's all bad design. It's all a tragedy. Now, then there was a lot of passionate reactions. This is one of the things that was posted. You know, pues la verdad, right? Then here's somebody, University of Lazy Design. And it's toilet paper, you see? And it's the toilet bowl. I mean, we are #1, University of Bad and Lazy Design, which I think is actually quite accurate. Then here's somebody who's a little bit more polite. They say, you're giving me this instead of this. Then there was a recent news photograph of a policeman in Oakland spraying tear gas in the face of a demonstrator. So they add this famous news photograph here. This one, you don't know whether to laugh at it or cry about it. See? And then somebody posts all of these other university signatures, and it says, which one doesn't belong? You know, this is Stanford, this is MIT, so that's Harvard. So you see, the protest is getting louder. And then, these are people that really have opinions, you know. This is where people are not helping at all. They're just saying, like the comparison with the toilet. And this one, we're throwing money into the toilet. This one, then here's more. This is a car lubrication company. This one says a banana slug, an insect, just like this. This one has a Cookie Monster from Sesame Street. This one just says suck. And then somebody says, oh, okay, well, it's supposed to be multicultural, so they're going to do this. And then this one says, it's all about ownership of intellectual property, university copyright. This guy says, misguided credit union, abandoning tradition since 2000. See, here is really, this is the essence of the protest. Abandoning tradition, throwing away heritage. And then this guy says, the logo is a bomb. He said, he's thinking about it. So finally, even the designer herself posts, I'm sick of my own logo. In the space of 1 week, this logo was inserted into the graveyard at one of the campuses. Okay? So, now you've seen the University of California rebranding. So, when the group of you, the groups who choose this as your term assignment, come to it, remember this, and remember all of these different forces. I'll post this presentation on the website, on Facebook for you, so you can refer to it. But think about the multitude of issues and questions that were raised in this. This tells you something about the impact of the design work that you have in the world. It tells you that you can, and this happened, this protest happened in the space of 1 week. 1 week. Thousands of dollars thrown out. Okay. Now, today we have two speakers. The first one is Sascha from Gottschalk and Nash in Zurich. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And he's going to talk to you about the most powerful visual brand. Now, I want to try and take some time today and show you a presentation, but not talk to you about the content of the presentation. I want to talk to you about the art of presenting. And so my next presentation will be simply tricks for how to present. Now, the logic of presenting, because you've seen a lot of these images before in my presentation last class. So we'll take some time today for that. Anyway, Gottschalk and Nash, I selfishly confess that I am associated with this firm. I consider it to be arguably the finest graphic design company in Switzerland, working in the international style. And I am the global brand ambassador for this company. But Sascha is one of the partners, and he's worked for a lot of big international brands. Done signage for the Novartis campus. So historically, important work and significant work in the corporate arena. And he's going to, but I believe that Sascha's going to talk to you about something a little bit more conceptual. Then Nick Roylance from London is more working in the popular arena. His subject actually is more about the pop issues, and he will talk to you about his work in the publishing and bookmaking and book publishing arena. So, Sascha, you want to take over?
How many speak English? Understand? You understand English? Not all? How much? Quanti parlano italiano? È meglio italiano? Better English? Okay. I do it.
Of course.
It's easier for me. So, I want to talk to you about the most powerful visual brand, which, well, first,
Come on, people.
what is the most powerful visual brand? I mean, this is quite powerful because you know from the waves that this is Coca-Cola. So this is, this is special. Without spelling the name, you can name the company. I think that's powerful, but there are more powerful ones. This was powerful, very powerful in the past. At the moment, it's not that powerful anymore for luck. So, and this is probably very powerful because it's a youth brand. You know, that's our age. It's very young. McDonald's, everybody knows it. This is a powerful brand as well, and he built his reputation, or his election campaign was very much a campaign of a brand. He tries to be a brand, so I think that was really, really strong. But when it comes to really powerful brands, is it Apple? Probably at the moment when we see here, you know, here, logo. I always think it's too big on this, isn't it? But it's powerful, but I think it's not the most powerful, but it has something to do with the Apple. So,
this Apple was designed by a California design studio.
yeah.
Do you think that's emblematic of West Coast American design? Do you think it's, because you're saying it's overly obvious?
Well, this design, the Apple design.
Yeah.
What do you think of the?
Yeah, and the placement of it on the computer.
Well, I think it's too much, because when you are the best company in the world, you don't have to put such a big sign on it, because it could be smaller, because everybody would even notice that you are still the best. It doesn't need to be that big. It's my opinion, and it's a little bit too much. It says to you, Apple, 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 you know. But it could be better. It could be.
The quiet brand idea. The quieter brand.
So I think this is a little bit too much, yeah. And when you look at the internet, this logo has a very interesting story. It started kind of like a hippie brand, like someone sitting under an apple tree, and there is this apple on it. And this was the first Apple logo, and then how it develops with the all-color version, and now it gets simpler and simpler. I think it's really strong development. So, well, it has to do with the Apple. So the company I want to show you has a very special headquarters. They have an own flag. That's their flag. They have an own state. That's Vatican State. That's their headquarters. That's their building where they're in. That's their main building, the Catholic Church. That's how it looks inside. I mean, I don't know how the new Apple headquarters is going to look like. They are building a huge circle, but I'm sure that it's not that big and that great as this is. So, why are they so strong? I think first is network. They have a great network.
Does everyone know what a network is? Do you know what he's talking about when he says they had a great network?
I can explain. This is in Rome. This is the Pantheon. So in every city of the world, they have the most beautiful building. At least in Europe it's like that. The biggest building in a city is always a church. Is it?
Except in America. It's
Yeah,
a church
in
for money.
America, yeah. You know. But here, you know, it's, the European culture is very close with the Catholic Church, I think. And it's very, you know, it's very iconic. In every city you go to visit to a chapel or wherever you go. So those are the places, and this is a really important place. This is, for example, Firenze. Okay? Rinascimento, tutto quelle cose. This is all in that. You know? So Rinascimento is kind of like the birth of the modern man. Okay? However you look at it, but this is one of those, so it's very big, you know. So then, switching cities, for example, Barcelona, Sagrada Familia, still not finished, but an icon already. You know, those are buildings. Or going further, now we're crossing no, this is France. This is Le Corbusier, one of the biggest architects of the 20th century. He builds churches as well, but great ones. You know, this is like Roylance is one of the top buildings of the 20th century. Then moving places now across the ocean. This is Brasilia. You know, the city which is developed in a stroke in one stroke almost. So that's their church. This is Oscar Niemeyer, who recently died. So this is Japan, Tadao Ando, beautiful church in Japan, in a Japan way. You know, this is more like very. So they are all over the world, and they have in every city, or in most of the city, they have the most beautiful buildings. And now we talk about architecture and this network, but there is another network behind it, the Vatican Bank. It's very powerful. Very funny is that you can go out in the Vatican and there is Latin on the ATMs. You know. So you can switch to Latin. So there is, you know, a lot of network behind this thing, and what you've seen, it's a craft which is astonishing. You know, I think it was 2 years ago they said, you know, the most important piece of art in the world is the Michelangelo nella Cappella Sistina. So they have the most beautiful piece of art. I mean, you've probably been there. They always go with the best. They choose Michelangelo. And this is Paris, Notre Dame. One of the most beautiful windows that exists. You know, this is craft. This is not just done like this. This is one piece after the other, carefully done. Now we switch to a modern glass work. This is Gerhard Richter, probably today the highest rated artist in the world, or one of the highest rated. So they always choose the best to work with them. When you look at this fabric, just beautiful. You can't afford it. Or this, this is the Pope Giovanni Paolo. And when he died, I thought, you know, I'm not Catholic, so I'm not into that much, as probably some of you are, but I thought this box, for sure it will be gold. It's not, it's good. And look at here, this is beautifully done. This is craftsmanship. You know? It's not, you know, an Apple brand who says, no, this is really honestly done. It's just a nice box. That's it. Then, the shoes. Some say those are Prada shoes, so the devil wears Prada, kind of like funny story behind it. So the shoes, every piece of clothes is just perfectly done. He has his own tailor. So now let's talk about myth. So what would be God without the devil? So they need both. They have kind of like both in it, in the brand. There's the Archinoa, which is something that never happened, but they are based on things that never happened. So they tell stories that never happened.
Remember this.
That's interesting.
The construction of mythology is essential to a powerful brand. The notion of narrative.
This as well. Yeah. When he dies and goes up in the sky, this probably never happened. But their brand is based on such things. And it's not just a story, it's their main story. Then, burnout people, they go to the, how you say, Jacob's Way? Is it? When they go to Santiago de Compostela. Yeah. You know, when modern people as we are, when we have a burnout, we do that, we do this. And we follow, the myth of this church. Even if you're Catholic or not. A lot of people are doing this. Then the Holy Grail, another story, never happened. Or the Christ in Torino. Is it? Is it not? But it's there. It's part of their brand. It's very, this picture is so powerful. If it's not Christ, it doesn't matter. So drama. They have a lot of gestures and they are all very, very, very small. So it's just small gestures. All are following that. Everyone is doing this. Light, eternal light. They have the eternal light. Smoke. Small gestures, but very, very powerful. You smell it. Or when they elect the Pope, black smoke, white smoke, all those signs there. When we're talking about multimedia brand, this is one. Or, the bread and the wine, this is the body. Okay? Fantastic. Or just small gestures. Or when this is Francesco di Assisi. So the new Pope, he chose this name. And the man who said Habemus Papam was a sick cardinal. He has one of those, what was it? I don't know, but we can't heal him. But he put a man in front which was sick. This is a powerful sign. And he said, Habemus Papam, you couldn't hardly understand him. And then they said, his name is Francesco. So here's the new Pope is taking the values of the Francesco brand to his brand. He chooses another car than a normal Pope has, a big car. But he refused the big car. He said, I want a small one. This is all in there, in the Francesco story. Okay? Now let's talk about people. Have you been there? In San Pietro? This is, at the headquarters, what I call the headquarters. This foot is so many times touched that it loses the form. Do you imagine how many people are there? And when you go there and you touch it, it brings you luck. So everyone is doing that, of course. Even I have done it, but how many? This is bronze. How many people have to touch this? That it loses the form, it looks like a fish. This is power. This is more power than those here. So when we talk about confession, this is a better network than Twitter and Facebook together, because they know things which only you know and probably some very few people. They know all the secrets, because you give them all the secrets, and you feel better after you said that.
So here's the issue. The issue is trust. Okay? They use all this mythology and all this symbology to build a kind of a connection. Remember, we talked about a brand as a conversation, but this is a compact, an agreement of trust.
So, those shoes we've seen, this is, the Pope's tailor shop window, but what's interesting is this. This is the only piece of clothes all of us can buy. We can buy this. We can go in there and buy this. Everyone can do that. So you have a piece of Pope. And then, when you see the Pope, and you give him this, he has to give him his. You understand?
No.
When you buy this, go in the shop and buy this, and then go to the Vatican, or you go to a presentation.
You mean you exchange them?
You can exchange the hats. When you give this, yours, to him, he gives his to you.
There you are.
Understand?
That's relationship building.
That's a relationship.
It sure is.
I didn't know it, but I went recently on TV. They told me that, and I was like, it's crazy. It's really great,
And also, it's ritual as well.
Yeah, and it's not like brands today. They give you a pen, and there's their name on it. This is special, a hat. And in exchange, he gives you, you give him. This is really amazing. Then they have a lot of people who are working for free for them, who give up their lives. This is power.
Subversive, Sascha.
Then, talking about when we see in Europe, at least in my country, Catholic Church is very criticized because of homosexuals coming together or whatever. I don't really care about that. But what really interests me is that the biggest festival for young people is the Young People Convention for the Catholic Church, the World Youth Day. This is the biggest event for young people. There are not bigger events where young people are coming together. Not even when Verona wins the championship. There are more than millions of people who are coming to a town in the world, wherever it is. I don't know.
This is a kind of a social network, a yearly event.
Yeah, and everyone says, they are not strong in the young market. I don't believe that. They are very strong. They are probably not that strong in Europe, but when you're looking at other continents like South America, they're very strong with the young people. And I think the new Pope, which is South American, is for that emerging market. Let's call it like this. So, when the old Pope, in a year, he met the President of the United States, he met the President of France, he met, you name it, James Cameron, he met all. In a year, everybody is going to see him. He is not going to them, they are coming to Rome.
So big CEO.
Yeah. Then media. This is the Gutenberg Bible. This is very important for us, graphic designer as well, because the book how we have it today. The first book is the Bible, kind of like the printed book. And this is powerful as well. The Bible is the biggest bestseller, I think, now. Most translated. So this is, And it's very, very connected, you know, with technology. The first book, imagine that, printed, is the Bible. Then, when you're talking about style, this is the Dove's Press Bible. This is very famous because, you know, it's kind of like, this is arts and crafts movement, you know that? You know, and that was Morris, and his was very, you know, overwhelming with a lot of details, with a lot of drawings. And this was the other company, the Dove Press, and they were completely the opposite. They had the same ideas in mind, you know that the Industrial Revolution, they destroyed kind of design as we know it today, because it was all bad quality, because it's so fastly made, so they couldn't control the speed. That's why the art, in a nutshell, that's why the arts and crafts movement was born, and this is the other side of the arts and crafts movement, which is kind of like, you know, it's not very much on there. This is very minimalist. This is very modern. And this is before 1900. So arts and crafts movement has this kind of two phases. One is like Morris, which is, you know, the power of the craft and the joy and so on. This Dove's Press, this is more like this Protestant movement, kind of like we follow up later with the modern movement. They have a newspaper. They have a radio station. I think more than 30 languages you can hear of that radio station. I mean, this is a lot. And then they are, you know, this is one of the biggest films, Ben Hur, and the Catholic story is in there. It's embedded in a story, which is not true. So they are, you know, theme of others, or for others. They are in other movies, in other medias, all around. If it's fiction or not, they are everywhere. On their website, they have their own TV channel. And you can look, this is quite a good net application. You can fly through the Capella Sistina and look through all the details of the painting. And it's done on the computer, which is kind of, I think it's astonishing.
I want to remind you of a relationship brand that I showed you in the first class. And one of the things that characterizes a successful relationship brand is a mastery of media. So here we're talking about the relationship of the brand to media.
Yeah. So
one other thing I want to add something to media, if I may, which is, are you all aware the new Pope is on Twitter and is tweeting? They used to write the message on the wall of the cathedral or put it in the stained glass. Now, it's the same thing.
And you know what's its best? He follows no one. Everybody is following him, but he's following no one. That's very important. This shows an attitude. You know? He's not going out in the world and, you know, say hello to Obama in Washington, and then if he's there, yes, but they are coming to him. That's very, very powerful. So when we're talking about the cross is here. In almost every church. In the building, it's in there. The cross is here. It's a man. It's in real. The cross is man, you know. And you can make the cross with a lot of ornaments. But in the end, it's just two strokes crossing. It's like one of the most powerful signs that exists. It's a movement, it's a man, it's all in there. Everything I told to you now, it's all in there. So now this is my final. Even this, you know those guys?
Swiss Guard.
The Swiss Guard. Even we, the Swiss, send the best people to them. That's it. Thank you.
Very good.
Any questions?
All right, you have the opportunity now to ask questions of a high-functioning professional here who can give you opinions. or can answer your questions. So, what are you thinking? I want to hear some good questions for this man. Anyone?
Yeah, I was wondering, why did you say that everything is inside that cross? Everything that we saw?
Because I think a logo is the shortest way of saying it. I am Apple. The logo, it's a condensation of all values, all the history, and that's why, for example, this university thing failed, because they made a logo which get rid of all kind of, and that's why I say everything I told to you is in there, because it's in our head. When you see that, you can imagine every aspect I told you, or you have other aspects. It's all in there. And that's why a logo is very important, and that's why you should take care in designing a logo, because a logo is a story, it's all in there. And this is kind of like when you have an iceberg, and the tip on top, this is the logo. And all what you can see, this is the one behind it. And the tip stands for the base.
But so your suggestion is to make a good logo is to see the past, to see the mythology and so on, the economy.
It's more. You see the future as well. You see all in it. It's, this brand is mostly based on the past, because it's more than 2,000 years old, so they have to be based on the past. But when you open a new shop, you are more based on the future. But when it's successful, then you say once, like established in 2013, and it's a value in 100 years.
Well, I think in answer to your question about what does the cross represent, you can look at it on a multitude of levels. You can ask what it represents symbolically, as if you had no knowledge of what surrounds it or what its heritage is. Or you can see it as a mean or a signal for everything, every association you have, both conscious and unconscious, that's in your mind about it. I think the apple does the same thing,
yeah.
But this has got a lot more gravitas. It's got a lot more history behind it.
I think what's funny with the apple
Go ahead.
is that you don't combine it with an electronic company. IBM has those stripes. You all know the IBM logo.
The video scan.
This looks technical. It's the screen, the IBM logo. Okay? But the Apple logo goes the other way. They say, oh, we are Apple, because they were stoned and said, oh, it's Apple.
Yeah.
I think it's that. So, this is a way harder way to go, because then you have to say, okay, Apple means computer. The IBM logo tells you it's computers or IT. So, but this, when it's successful, it's even stronger. I think the whole Apple story is about this. In a nutshell, it's like when you see other IT companies, they think they produce machines. Apple, they don't produce machines. They do devices for man and for use for people. The people aspect is way more higher than in other IT companies. And I think that's their success. And they are not producing a lot of new machine. When they have a product, it's thought out. It works from the first moment. And this is another way, like other companies, they have a huge production line, and they are putting products on the market as hell. Apple doesn't have that many products.
No, it doesn't. But But the ethical conundrum with Apple is the insidious product cycle. That in order to continue to dominate the market, they must have a new model every 6 months for you. And you may argue with me about it, but I believe that they make a flimsy product, because the product is not really, like if I buy a Bang & Olufsen stereo, I own it for 20 years. If I buy an Apple computer, I'm done with it in 2 years. I have to have the new one. Or it breaks on me, or something fails. Paula got a new computer from Apple, and she had to replace 3 components in the first 6 months of ownership. So, the insidious product cycle is the ethical conundrum of the Apple brand. What has created the success of the Apple brand is the intersection of art and design and technology. You know, I gave you an article to read, Bellecoq 2.0. Yes? Did you read it? Have you looked at it?
Yeah.
The idea of that is, are we in an era like that when we're in an era of the intersection of art and technology, and are we doing a good job of it? In my opinion, they've solved the design problem, but they have failed. They failed us for planet Earth, because all of these things are going to be on the space age junk heap. See, there's going to be this. They're putting stuff into the landfill. I think they have to. The next leap of faith is to build a higher quality physical product. The design solution is a good one.
Yeah.
You're correct. They have created these marvelous instruments which fulfill human need successfully. The failure, remember I showed you a slide of the tablet computers, and each of them failed in one way or the other. This one, the software was too slow. This one was slower than your iPhone. This one was a stylus that didn't work. These people have solved the problem. Our iPads, you know, we love them. We love them. I grab my iPad every morning and read the news, look at my email and everything. But they fail us in terms of their life, how long they last for us. They're on this vicious cycle of product creation. And go ahead, I'm sorry. You want to talk about Apple?
No.
Okay. Okay. Another question, please. Well, don't you think it's interesting that Sascha believes that the Catholic Church is the most powerful brand? Because it has every correspondence to every commercial organization in the world, what every commercial organization aspires to. See, a commercial organization can't just produce a good product. By the way, what's the product of the Catholic Church? I don't know. Is it a good feeling? A feeling of peace and contentment and well-being, that by association with this brand, you know, the Catholic Church is a feel-good brand? Is it an emotional brand?
It is.
Okay, it's got the strong CEO, right? It's got an army to protect it. It's got a bank. It's got architectural branding. That's all iconic. It's a very dimensional, and it's got a huge backlog of symbology, semiotics. The symbols are there, going for hundreds of years, thousands of years, I guess.
What's your most powerful brand? Who do you follow?
Just name some brands, guys.
Shoes, Converse.
Converse. Ah, a youth
I don't
brand.
understand why they cost so much. Because I got a lot of them, of these shoes.
Okay, Converse, the cost of labor.
They are not so good in quality.
No?
Because they are Californian as he is.
Converse is a venerable American brand associated with tennis. It was the first tennis shoe, and it dates back to the 1940s. My father wore Converse during the Second World War, before the Second World War. But
Very
Converse,
strong brand.
but it's a brand that's repositioned itself in recent history, because now Converse is a youth brand. It's not an athletic brand. It's a brand about an idea. And the idea is street credibility.
But what about the sun, the symbol, the star?
The star? I think it's kind of old. I think, by the way, remember the University of California brand? Remember I was talking about circumscribe? It's another one of these circles. Well, Converse kind of dates back to that era, that understanding that a logo must in some way be circumscribed.
Yeah, it tells you a story that it's not a new hot brand. It tells you a story.
Heritage.
Yeah.
American Association isn't the star.
The star is also very much the heritage.
And it's the star is one of those basic signs.
And the color scheme of Converse is red, white, and blue, the heritage scheme. So it isn't, there is this American Association. That's right.
Other favorite, most powerful brands?
Anybody?
American one that I hate.
You hate? Let's hear it.
Paul Frank. The one
Paul Frank with the monkey.
I
Yeah.
don't know why.
Why do you hate it?
Because I find it silly.
Say again?
I find it silly.
Silly.
So you find it silly?
Like Hello Kitty or something.
I like Hello Kitty.
No, because there's too much Hello Kitty.
Yes, it's true. Hello Kitty is taking over the world. I told you that. Okay, so you don't like Paul Frank because you think it's silly, because it's like little soft monkeys. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good criticism. But Paul Frank also appeals to a very narrow demographic. It's very specific. Like you won't see your grandmother wearing Paul Frank. So it's a very narrow marketing effort, I think. Who else? Who's got another favorite brand to talk about? Nutella, there we go. Great. Okay.
That's a good one.
Okay, talk about Nutella. It's good. Yeah. Okay. You have a tactile association with it. In some way or other, it's connected to your senses. Yeah. It's not the visual brand. It's not the experience of spreading it on the bread or putting it in your crepe. You like the way it tastes. Okay. Come on.
Roxy.
Roxy.
And it's a logo of Sascha and women.
Yes. You like that brand. Why do you like it?
For the colors, for the amazing, the word that this logo represents. Hawaii, Mexico,
Yeah.
water.
Yeah. So it's got a kind of a beach, arid, tropical association for you. Aha. Okay, so it's a lifestyle brand. It's something that's an aspirational brand. It says something that's meaningful to you about how you want to see your life or live your life. How different is that from the I don't know. Roxy doesn't have an arm. Yeah, I can see it in my mind's eye. It sounds like a youth brand. We're going to talk about that in a later class, but what typifies a youth brand? How is a youth brand built in the world today? A lot of it has to do with the organization understanding at a very, very close distance its customer. They do something that other companies don't do. Youth brands send people right out to the point of purchase, and they stand there and they watch. What are they saying? What language are they using? How long are they looking at the shelf? What are they picking? What are they wearing? Youth brands have to be present right at the point of purchase. And the other thing they are is in the same cycle as Apple. They are in a dynamic product creation cycle. That is, youth brands have to produce new product at 6-month interval or less. Because ideas in youth brands like Roxy rise and fall. They're very interesting. This is why PPR, Francois Pinault, the greatest luxury brand, second greatest luxury brand company, just bought Volcom. They bought Volcom, a youth brand. You like Volcom? You do? Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay. Anybody else? Give me some more brands. Uniqlo. Nikon. Nikon, the camera brand, Nikon. Uh-huh.
I love the name of it.
Yeah.
Because it has icon in it, and it's
And it sounds like Nippon, which is the Japanese word Nihon, which means Japan.
it's a really good name.
It's an old name. It dates from like the Second World War. Is it a family name? Or is it a generic?
I think it's generic.
It's a created name.
Yeah, because I think they played with the word icon. Because when you're photographing, you're taking it.
And why do you like the brand?
Essential.
It's essential.
I think. The brand. Oh no.
No, come on. Tell us.
Oh, sorry.
Come on, you have to articulate. If I'm your client, you have to tell me why the brand is good. So sell me the brand.
It's big. Have a design of the brand.
Yes?
Beautiful.
Okay, so you have a kind of a similar relationship with Nikon that you do with Apple? Like the design makes you feel good?
Are you photographing?
Well, okay, let me ask you this. If I gave you a Sony camera, a Canon camera, and a Nikon camera, what's the difference between them?
I think that the Nikon camera is more professional. Give me an idea of professionalism.
Aha, okay, very good. Very good.
Use different material for the camera.
Yes. Okay, so you
What do you think when I put a Leica next to it?
What?
A Leica?
Leica.
You know Leica?
Yes.
It's kind of like same. So Leica is more like the European top brand. And Nikon is more the Nikon is more the Japanese.
Well, the Leica is the one that was used by classical artists at the dawn of the last century for photography, and the combat photographers. The Leica is the camera that went to war. You know, that was the one favored by the news correspondent.
Isn't there a René Bouri exhibition in town here? And Mountain is all Leica.
Yeah. So Leica has a deep professional association for our generation, whereas I think maybe Nikon, yes?
Leica or Hasselblad?
Hasselblad. Hasselblad is a highly technical, large format camera. That's the camera that went to the moon with the astronauts. All the pictures taken on the moon were Hasselblads. And it's also the 2.25 square format.
Even more. Hasselblad is really professional.
Yeah.
And Nikon, in that
So
point of view, is more mass
well, it bridges
quality.
it bridges the amateur and the professional. Yeah. Whereas Hasselblad, only a professional can really afford it.
Yeah.
Nikon was famous for the brass body, you know, like glass that had over 20 years.
Yeah.
It was all painted black. And then when Apple made their first MacBook Pro, they made it black, metallic,
Yeah.
with a white type, just like the Nikon camera, which says something that's going to last for reality in the last 2 years.
So that's the issue. That issue there is packaging. The idea of how a product design supports an idea symbolically. By adopting the same color scheme and the same typographic technique, a product can express a value of endurance or durability. Can you see a difference between Nikon and Canon? No. Okay. How do you feel about Kodak film?
You can see?
You can. Go ahead.
Canon, Nikon, the,
Those days look like the same thing?
yes, there are some different, but the sensor is the same. And,
Okay, but you're talking now about the technology. You're talking about the differences in technology as opposed to what you believe about the brand or how you perceive it, I think. Because we have a feeling about a brand that tracks back to the values. So, I don't know, I think I see Canon as a little bit more in the direction of professional, even though there are these point and shoots like we use. Whereas I think maybe Nikon gives professional quality to the amateur. It becomes much more of a mass market brand. Now let me ask you about films, okay? Polaroid, Kodak, what do we think about those? Do we have any kind of association with those? What do you think about Polaroid? That's a very interesting brand. Talk to me about Polaroid. Like it, don't like it? Recognize it? Do you know what it is? Yeah? Have you ever used it?
Yes.
Do we like it?
Yes.
Why?
It's good because you have already seen the result of the
Okay.
it's good.
So you like having the product in your hand immediately? Uh-huh. I do too. And I like the crazy formats they've had over the years. But that's a brand that failed. It failed to the point that it went into no existence, and the brand was purchased by a conglomerate in Boston, and they had to hire Lady Gaga to help reestablish it 2 years ago. She became creative consultant to Polaroid, which was not owned by the company which produced the original film. So it shows you that brands rise and fall. Every brand has a life. That's why I say brands mimic the cycles of life. They're born, they rise, and sometimes they die. And now Polaroid is a bit like a phoenix, rising from the ashes. And there's a whole generation, which is your generation, interested in this idea again of instant photography. And the German company are the ones producing the instant films based on the Polaroid patents. That's very interesting to me. Okay, other brands you like?
The knife, the one.
The swoosh? Nike?
Yeah,
Okay. Why? Why do you like Nike?
Because it gives me a sensation of something that is fast.
Yes. The Nike brand is built on the notion of performance.
Very simple and clear.
Yeah. I've worked for Nike. I've done projects for them. It's a very strong corporate culture, very attached to youth, but because of its size, because it's a huge brand, it can't really be leading edge. It can't be of the moment. It's always a little bit, to my way of thinking, behind the times. The second thing is Nike had problems with foreign manufacturing, factory conditions. So the brand is a bit polluted by the idea that foreign workers are being underpaid to make their product. Do you think Nike has high quality product? No? I see heads shaking.
No.
No?
Like I don't wear Nike. I like only the
You like the swoosh?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't wear the shoes.
That was designed by an
I
amateur.
prefer Adidas.
Adidas. Okay, why?
Because I feel better in this shoe.
Comfort?
Yeah, they are comfortable.
Because Adidas is a brand built on the notion of competition. They have a history of team sponsorship, of sports sponsorship, so that these shoe brands, each of them has a cachet of its own. Like, does anyone know Li Yang shoes? Anybody from Asia here? Anybody from China? It's like the biggest shoe brand in China. This guy's like a famous Chinese basketball star. He went back to China. He went nose to nose with Nike. Now he's like the bigger shoe company numerically than Nike. Don't even know him. Okay. Well,
What
that's...
do you think, no, I think this, which is your, it's a little bit boring, because you are graphic designers, aren't you? What do you think is the best condensation, talking about logos? What do you think is, in a way, the best logo for a product, Where do, and why?
How about somebody from the back of the room? What's a good logo?
What?
Google?
Google.
The flexible brand.
It is.
What?
Facebook
Facebook? Okay.
has done a lot of rebranding. So they were never happy. They do it again, and they do it again. Do you know the FedEx logo? Do you know the FedEx logo?
FedEx.
Do you have an internet connection?
What do we think of it? What do you think of it?
Yeah. Make it bigger. Yeah.
Sascha, where are you going with the FedEx logo?
Why is it great? It's Futura. Now it's Futura. Why is this a great logo?
Because it's different color.
Helps you, yeah. But why is it really? I haven't seen it for years. You see the arrow?
It's a franchise.
Yeah. It's a delivery service. You see the arrow?
You see, you've seen it so much you don't see it anymore.
And now every time you see it, you see the arrow. You remember that. You remember me because of that, probably. You know, when I've always seen this FedEx. I was in the US studying, I've seen FedEx all over the place. I've never seen the arrow. Once in the office came a box of FedEx, and I've seen the arrow. I was freaking out. This is one of the best logos in my mind, because this is really, really minimal. You know, you can't put something away,
Is that
then it's not working anymore. It's just perfect.
Isn't that living cotton marbles? Is that? Yeah.
But the main designer, he was working at that company at that time. But now I think it's Linden Legal. You know that?
Yeah.
And then he made his own artist.
No.
And it's really, I mean, it's a stroke of genius that he has more or less of that quality he has, as far as I know, just on that.
Well, to be remembered for one logo. I mean, brand.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have it on. I would sign that.
Okay, what's some other brands people like here? Visual brand you like. The way something looks. Guys, you're like one of the top guys in the world standing here. Pick his brain, please.
You know La Rinascente? Perfectly drawn, no? Is it?
And Carrefour has an arrow in it.
You know who has done that? Wiener Schenke? Max Huber. Nardo Switzerland. No, I think what's good in there, it's Futura as well. But with this Bodoni or what it is in front, it makes it like a fashion brand, or a store brand, or you know, you can find anything in it. It's this combination which makes it really good, I think.
What would you have done for the University of California?
Well, you know, as you know now, I love history, so I will never get rid of that history. If you have a reputation like the University of California, I would never have done this, because this is just, it's just stupid if you have a reputation and then throw it away.
Yeah? Would you?
That's all. Well, I would have started with this, because with the existing one, or created kind of, you know, MIT, they have this kind of, it was on your slide as well, they have the historic brand, and they have made another one which is kind of like square letters, MIT, so they have this combination, they have kind of both. This could be a strategy for University of California, to have this kind of modern but traditional university feel. But I don't think you have to change. I mean, you could use this sign and put it on colorful background. Then it suddenly looks younger. When you have a bright yellow that stamp on it, or you know, with color and combination, and you can add a lot to an old logo without touching it. You don't always have to touch the logo.
So the first thing you would do would be the intervention of interesting color.
I can't say, because you know, I'm not that familiar as you are with that brand, but this would be a strategy I would develop. Another is type.
Type.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking also that it might be interesting to reinterpret it in a lower resolution style. Like when I was at the Googleplex, I saw a poster of the Google logo that had been reduced down to a system of rectangles, each representing one of the different colored letters. And it was so abstract and so beautiful, and yet the proportions and the sequence of the color recollected the Google visual brand. I thought that was a really smart solution.
It depends. I mean, it's strategic. What do they want? If it's about, I don't think the initial strategy of putting this on the screens at the low resolution is for me a wrong. It's not the right step.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it's not, for me, yeah, it's a problem, but it's not their main problem. You know,
what's their main problem?
I don't know, that's why I want to know.
Communicating the heritage, I think. Because
I mean, they have to tell young people that they are able to sell them a good study, you know. I mean, that university is the power of the young people. The better the people are studying there, and the better professors, the better the students, and so on. This is kind of like this. So I think this is a reputation so you have to be, you know, it's interesting. In a way, when I follow you should kind of make a youth brand of university. But it's not the case, because nobody does that, because then you are not credible anymore. When you're a university, when you position a university as a youth brand, it doesn't work. Nobody's going there. They want that old style credibility thing, or the parents want.
Right. In fact, you know, I saw this in India.
And those who give the money want it.
It's especially strong in India. Someone came up to me at a meeting and said, we're the second largest chain of business schools in India. I said, well, how big are you? And they said, well, we only have 550 campuses. I said, well, what's your competitor? He said, they have 3,000 campuses. He said, how do we get noticed? Because these people have marketing all over the country. So I said, well, you have to go first to different channels than your competitors. But you have to remember that it's mom and dad paying the bills. It's mom and dad who are going to write the check. So you may want to appeal to the students, but in India, culturally, the parents have much more power over where the children go to school, all the way to the end of education. The parents have much more influence. You probably chose your school based on what you were interested in. But in other cultures, the parent has more. So just tracking back to the University of California, in the American culture, or the Western culture, maybe it's not so much mom and dad writing the check as seducing the student, the potential student. Whereas in India, in another marketplace, you have to seduce the parents. You have to seduce the parents. That's kind of a goal. And yet, you're back to your discussion of what strategically do you want to do with the brand.
And I think they took the wrong path. They just wanted to solve a technical problem.
I think they want to solve a cosmetic problem.
Yeah,
It was
and it's
purely
not.
cosmetics. And it's at the expense of heritage and meaning, which is why it was so superficial. Also, to my way of thinking, it was ugly. It was schifoso. So why should, why do I want to go to a school that looks like a consumer product? And it didn't even look like a bar of soap. It looked worse. Questions?
Yes, there are a lot of fashion design brands that they use animals, for example, Lacoste
Yes?
or Armani or Etro, they use bears to start those.
Yeah.
And this is their choice, or I was asking myself,
Why?
animals.
Well, those are totemic icons.
I love, for example, to start. I don't wear Tucson. I love the dog. The dog is. We passed by it now. I said, we said, it's such a beautiful dog. It looks so classy.
Yeah.
And it's, I think those animals. I think it's about sympathy. You like animals. Everybody likes animals. At least it's not snakes, but it's dogs. So everybody likes dogs, more or less.
Oxford just uses a pig.
Funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think this is about sympathy. Animals are very good.
This is their goal, to use animals because people like animals.
Well, it can.
Well, in
Remember,
Saudi, I don't know if it's the family.
yeah, it could have a representation, a heritage representation. I mean, you see here in this city the ladder a lot because of the family, the first family of Verona. So, what does that tell you about the brand of the city of Verona? Is it about rising higher? Is it about being higher, or is it something that doesn't have that much symbolic meaning? It's an interesting discussion to walk through the symbology of totemic animals, because animals mean, like Ralph Lauren, the polo player on the horse. Why does he do that? Does he do it because the horse means something to him? Or does he do it because the polo player represents some kind of social class statement that he is using to appeal to his target customer? That may be a brand whose logo is created for social mobility. The logo was created to promote some kind of aspiration.
but the first used crocodile. We love crocodile.
Yeah. Was it not, though, the crocodile skin was what René Lacoste used for the sole of the original shoe? And also, Lacoste has, the origin of the brand is a famous athlete, tennis player, and then he was forgotten for 50 years. Nobody remembered René Lacoste, and then about 5 years ago, they said, oh, wait a minute, the association of the superior athlete, and they started using vintage photography of him in order to reinforce the brand. Then they went back to the runway, and they began to create couture, Lacoste couture. And now you can get, like I get emails from Lacoste every day, quite frankly, with a new kind of shirt, or a new kind of sweater, or a new kind of offer or something. They've gone beyond their heritage offering, which was the shoes. And the shirt is like, that was also the René Lacoste shirt for playing tennis. You know, loose fitting, the open weave.
They've got a very quality anyway.
Yes.
For years.
Right. And that's an association you have with the brand. You know that if you buy it, you're going to get a good garment that lasts. You don't get that same thing. How do you feel about Abercrombie and Fitch, by the way? Did you all look at that video that Satirius did? What do you think? Anybody? Who saw the video? Raise your hand. Who saw the video about Abercrombie and Fitch? Okay, you back there. What do you think of that video? Here's this guy who's going to start giving...
I don't see the video.
You don't?
See the video.
Oh, you didn't see the video?
So the video.
Yeah?
I don't know.
All right, look. The Pope of Abercrombie and Fitch went public a few weeks ago, gave an interview where he said, we only want the popular kids to wear Abercrombie and Fitch clothes, and we don't want fat people. I paraphrase, but this is essentially the message. Okay? So immediately, a video on Facebook goes viral with this guy who says, okay, I'm going to take, this is what kills me about this, and this is what, I'm not sure how to take it. I want to hear your opinion, because you're the people who really this guy's trying to appeal to. He's saying, I'm going to go to all of the used clothing stores, I'm going to find all of the used Abercrombie and Fitch clothing I have, and I'm going to give them to the homeless. So Abercrombie and Fitch is no longer going to be the brand for cool people or skinny people, it's going to be the brand for the homeless. So what do we think about that? You know? What's your opinion? It annoys me. Because I want to know who this guy is who's setting himself up as the police. To police Abercrombie and Fitch. I think it's Abercrombie's job on their own to figure out what to do about this. It's their disaster. This is like somebody who has no ownership in the company coming to him and almost blackmailing him. He's saying, you do this. I'm going to punish you. It's a punitive, aggressive action, whereas it's not proactive. Like if you ask the Dalai Lama, how would he change the Abercrombie and Fitch brand? He'd say, compassion, you know? We have to teach them to be compassionate. This guy's saying, we're gonna make you change your entire perception, the brand of the homeless. So I think it's an ethical problem here. Anyone? Are you skeptical or do you agree with this guy? You think it's a good thing to do?
It's a big ethical problem.
Yes, it is.
It's like saying, I sell this clothes to old people and the all the great people and the other are shit.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
It creates, there are many people with problems of anorexia and so on.
So it reinforces negative stereotypes. It reinforces negative behavior. That's irresponsible. They ought to fire the CEO. Or they ought to publicize that he's going to some kind of anger management class or something like that, you know. Oh, we're going to send him to a psychiatrist or something. Okay? Visual branding, any more questions?
For me, MTV logo is very cute and pretty.
Yes.
And it's a good idea. It's a good logo and brand. Or
You don't find it redundant?
what do you think about?
Yes.
It's a good logo or not?
MTV?
I think it's a good one. I have a presentation on that.
Oh, good.
I'm not sure it's a good idea.
Give us a little bonus here.
I'm not sure.
Remember, MTV also was a visual brand created for the video medium, so that they allowed to fill the M with all kinds of kinetic images. Remember too that
Okay, I have
you have to always bear in mind that logos now live in an environment which allows for kinetic action. Brand signatures are no longer inert. Okay, go.
You want to see that? Okay, this is called black and white because it's about typography. And I made this presentation because of this guy. He said to me, you know, he knows that I'm a little bit familiar with typography. That's why I can say this is a Futura, this is a Helvetica. So I'm really a bit into that. And he says to me, show up, tell me about typography. And so I made this presentation. So it starts with this MTV, okay? This is the state of typography today. You can make whatever thing you want and it's still recognizable as MTV. This is great, okay?
This is what we call flexible branding.
So, but everyone tells, you know, a picture is better because it tells more than 1,000 words. I don't think that's true, because this is true as well. A word is 1,000 pictures. And I say tree, everyone has another tree in his mind. This is the Google results, you know, in a billion seconds. So tree, it's a word, 1,000 pictures. I think that's a really strength of typography.
Hey, come on, your attention, please.
So, but still, a word is a picture because it's visual. And if you follow the development of the letter A, it's from this box. Where we are today. So a word is an idea. And it's the result of thinking. Can be loud. When we see as typography, as invention, it's like you can tell with words the whole world. You know, you can explain everything with words. And it's this guy, Gutenberg, he started that. And Gutenberg started a process which is kind of like Ford for the cars. You know, it's one of the first industrial processes, the book process. So that's why I think Gutenberg is very, very an important inventor. For the mechanical processes, even more for this, because he had this 26 pieces code, our alphabet, which helped him to code it, you know. this is key for his invention. Our alphabet, because the invention was already there. In Korea, they printed books in that way since hundreds of years. But he had the chance to combine it with our alphabet, which makes it a much more powerful invention. So I think in a way he invented IT technology as well. And so when you see designing and typeface, it's like kind of like, for me it's like an ultimate challenge. Because an A, you can't draw a B and say it's an A. An A has, there is something in it that it makes an A. You can't leave that part. You can't say, oh, today it's a B. It doesn't work. An A always has to look like an A. A B always has to look like a B. So that you can read that eco sugar, this eco, E as the E, C is a C. Bob Gill, or Gill said, Eric Gill, he said about the A-ness of an A. So this has to be in there when you're designing it. And then you're not designing one, but you're designing 26, and then you have different weights, and you have short, and U, and this U is always a U. Okay? This is the design challenge. And when you know, we are now lucky that we have those machines, but in the early times when those people who has done this has to do their work vice versa, they did that to give that impression. So it's like it's even a micro sculptural aspect in typography. Then on the other hand, it has to work in all colors and black and white. And this is not that important as this. It mostly is black and white. So it has really to work with basic conditions, black and white. When you draw a logo, it always has to work in black and white. That's why we start, for example, always with black and white. Because this is the ultimate condition. This is you can't do that. And so it has to work in all the colors. It has to work in all materials. Typeface, okay. So, and it has to work on the screen as well as on paper. And when you look at this, those all look the same height, but the O is slightly bigger than H. And the cross stroke of the H is not in the middle, it's slightly above. This is thinner than this. Must be thinner than this. It's not a perfect circle, it is an O. So, and these are probably the easiest letters to draw. When you draw an S or another letter, it's way more difficult, or an R. So, when you design the positive space, you design the negative space. You're not just drawing these. In drawing these, you draw this inside forms as well.
Can I interrupt? What the principles are that he's describing here are showing you the minute tolerances that typographers work with, and the notion of optics as figuring as essential in typographic and logo design.
Yeah, that's why this is more than this, because this has more, weight to it. So, you understand. And it has to work big and small as well. In the end, the ultimate judgment is only the eye. When you can read it, it's good. When you can't, it's bad. Okay. And when you overlay some letters, I think these are some of the best letters ever drawn. There is a Bodoni, there is a Garamond, and he overlapped them. And what he has seen is kind of like the A-ness of an A, this holy structure which every letter has. So when we are about reading, so we read like this. Okay, it's like in jumps. So when I would print this page, this one would look better than this. But here on the screen, this is the better typeface than this. This is too long. This is too short. This is too condensed. This is too open. Too open. This is better than this, because here you see like a little cracking, and here like bam, 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 bam. So you can better read and you can better jump from one line to the next because it's well done. Okay. So this is too much text. This is just comfortable. So it's very, very. This is the typeface that we choose good for the screen here. But no, for this word, this is better, isn't it? This is like stop it. Okay. So it's about character as well. So when we said this is the other typeface that we said that we thought that it's good to read. This is now another. This works better here because it's underlying what the content.
So typography is both connotative and denotative. That is, there's other information in the letter form that you choose. You have to very mindfully look at the style of the letter form for what it communicates on another level. Typography is a multi-dimensional medium.
So, and now this is better than this because it's even deeper. It helps you understand it.
What would you call that thing on the right? Is that a rebus? Is it? It's a trick.
Well, it's cement.
I think that this is where design can often emphasize or transform the power of a message. This is where design makes a difference.
Yeah. Now, for this word, I hate this typeface, it's go back, but for this word, it's perfect. And this setting is perfect for this one. So there is, then we are talking about logos, then it's really important what typeface you choose or what typeface you draw. It helps understand the message. This is a logo as well. This is the signature. This is kind of like the tip of the iceberg for logos. And this is in the end, a good logo. Or this, very strong, because I still read it IBM, because it's an I, a B, and an M, and it's still IBM. Do you see?
That's a rebus.
That's a rebus, yeah. That's colorant. There, yeah. This is, this is that minimal, it's just. Or this is powerful as well. Just 2 letters, and everybody knows in here it's La Rinascente. It works really well.
Left and right.
Yeah. Now, you've seen those 2. Those are condensations, ultimate. You can make it better. Now, you still think this is good? Still think it's good?
There are opposed. Brand opposed. La Rinascente is minimal.
Yeah.
And this is explosion of colors and
which is more powerful to you? The explosion or the...
I like the explosion.
Very good.
I think the explosion leads to this. This is good in some places, but it's this as well. And that's why I think you should take care in you have a kind of responsibility when you're doing it. Don't waste too much, because there is information overload out there. So that's why I go for the minimal way.
You understand what this principle is that he has just cited? He says, don't waste. It's this idea that simplicity is really one of the keys to successful visual branding. It's a statement of economy. It's economics. And economics, it's an idea that is symbolic. The idea, you know, your client is also interested in that. Your client is interested in you not wasting their money or wasting time or standing for any kind of wasteful scenario. Okay, people, let's take a break. We'll break for 15 minutes. We'll come back. And then we'll move on to the next. So thank you for your attention.